In today's video, I wanted to review where we're at in terms of selecting our best overall players. This was in round 13 when we were going through all of those guys, and we had the best options that were playing that first 3 weeks, so 13, 14, 15, missing 16. We had all the Parramatta guys that were good, and we had the Origin players here, and I just want to review where we're at and see if that actually changed much, and if you were selecting those top guns at that point, would things have changed much? And we look at the hooking position, and we had Robson up top with Tanner Boyd, and Tanner was absolutely killing at that time. Robson was that really, really good selection given he played 13, 14, 16, and 17 there, and boy, did that pick change with Reece there. And unfortunately, having him through that last few weeks hasn't been that great. And Tanner Boyd has been solid, but since that point when we're talking about him in 13, he hasn't scored as well as what he was in that sort of month stretch there. Harry Grant at number 3, so he's still clearly been that top selection, but the whole hooking position in general hasn't been that great. We had Cook at number 5, given he was one of the higher scorers, the higher average type of guys. He ended up not playing Origin and in that first game and being a good option. So a lot of things changed in that period there. And then Jeremy Marshall-King has just had an absolute time of it, hasn't he, with his injury? So not great on that front there. We're also going to go through it, when we do go through each of these sections, just show you who are the guys that are now going to be the best options come round 20 and round 21 to finish off the year with as well. So in the hooking position, I wouldn't be changing any of those guys. There's a few of the cheaper guys, obviously, in Brennan Hands and Simkin, these types of cheapies that are a solid one to play in this week. But other than the guns, it'd be Harry Grant up top. And really from there, it's probably Boyd that comes in second if you were looking at guys to pick this week, obviously, but going forward, it might be Grant. Cook might be the second best scorer, and then Robson and Boyd are probably going to be pretty similar around that sort of 47 to 50 mark most likely, and JMK, I think we need to avoid him at this point as well. With the midsection we'll get into in a short second, but let's just go through the buy planner at this point. So we do have 8 rounds left now. What do we got? No, 9 rounds left with 19 all the way through to 17 there. And there's a bunch of teams now without any buys. There's still the 3 teams there in Tigers, in Sharkies there, in Titans that don't have any buys anymore, which is very, very cool. We have one more team gone with a buy now with Eels, and they have their last one in that last round there in round 27. So just be aware of that with the Parramatta side. Every other team under here, you can see, has a buy either this week or one in 20, and then it goes down the line again from round 21 through to 26, and then the Eels in 27 there. So just making sure that you are looking at those type of players that, if you can, don't have any more buys to come. It's going to be so helpful for us with the lack of trades we have available. I imagine the majority of people now, after this week, round 19, will probably have the 0 trades remaining, and then 8 will come in from round 20. So that's 1 per week from there. You'd imagine you use sort of 3 or 4 to make your team as good as possible, and then you have 3 or 4 left for injuries and suspensions. And for 5 or 6 weeks there, that's not a lot of trades. And when you do come up to some of these really important buys, like the Warriors, for example, I have 3 players from the Warriors. I know a lot of you will probably have at least one with Johnson, potentially Tohu Harris as well in that one, and that's 2 players out. And if you have 1 or 2 guys that suspended or injured, or that you don't really want to be playing, like a Seb Chris that a lot of people are talking about, could be even maybe you don't really want to play Brendan Hands, or you have another cheapie that's Ben Trebojevic or Samuel Afenu or something like that who's not going to play or is going to be a bench guy. So that's when having that extra trade or 2 in around 22 is going to be pretty ideal to be able to trade one of those. You could potentially trade one of those guys. Johnson in round 22 could be good to go straight to Cleary. You're trading a straight swapping a keeper, but someone that misses that game, and you're upgrading to Cleary as well. Bulldogs in round 23, I don't think it's going to be a massive issue. Cowboys in round 24 could be if you're still holding to a Robson, Drinkwater, that kind of style there for sure. Round 25 in the Broncos, we're likely to have Payne Haas's, the Carrigans, potentially Reece Walsh, these types of guys, and then Rabbitohs in 26 with a few guys. Maybe you're going for Cam Murray. That kind of player there. And then round 27, I've got 4. I'm likely to have 4 Eels after this week, so I'd at least want to have 1 trade in that one just to make sure that I can trade one of those guys out, because I imagine at that point we have a resting, an injury, something going on. So the Eels in the last round is going to be very, very interesting on that front. But let's go through some of those keepers that we want to be looking to bring into our side and see how that compares to the I'll go to the Fantasy NRL page and slot through and talk through them as well. So the mids, Our best options were Payne Haas, Isaiah Yeo, top 2, and I think that very much hasn't changed at all. You got Madison in at number 3, so that was at that time before his injury. So since the injury hasn't been that great, I'm actually expecting him to score really, really well this week. So if you're needing a mid, then Madison, I think, is a pretty solid option there. Hopgood in the duel, obviously mid and edge. He's a great pick. I think he'll stay up there, and I think he should be in most sides, given the dual position. Flexibility when other guys have buys is going to be really, really helpful. Tohu Harris, Horsburgh, and JDB. So Hors and JDB I'd have ahead of Tohu Harris, obviously with JDB having a buy in 20, same with Horsburgh, but 19 as well. Puts Harris a little bit more important than Horsburgh right now, but I think the mid position is very well stacked, and there's really not too many other guys that you'd be looking to select in that middle position there. So we'll just have a look. And guys like Tino could be really good. You've got Carrigan, you've got Adam Fanua-Blake and Nat Butcher, along with Joe Tarpany and Mo Fotuaika. Cam Murray's the cheaper option there if you do want him in round 21. But other than that, that's all I would be looking at in the middle section there. But I think most people are pretty well right. In the mid section, there's so many guns available, and all of them are going to do a really, really solid job for you and your side heading into the next bunch of weeks, that's for sure. Let's look in at the edge position now, and Dave Fifita is still the number 1 selection by far. Isaiah Papali'i, I think it's pretty clear to have him in second. And then, you've got Frizzell, Bateman, and Hudson Young. So at that point, Frizzell was scoring really well and likely not to play Origin. He then got moved to Origin and things changed a lot. He was scoring super well there in the 50s each and every week. Bateman, doing really, really well, and he was that other option there in round 13 that people were going for, if we remember that right. And then Hudson Young was scoring super well and again made Origin. So Frizzell and Young really got pushed out of the best selections, unfortunately, just because of their Origin selection in that one. So both for more up there as the second highest. It's not in my side, but yeah, I got IPAP, Bateman, Hopgood, just for you guys looking there. And then from there it's like Nat Butcher if he can keep his spot. Britton Nikoro's come into contention there, along with Preston. Both two guys that you could have in that top 5 very clearly, very close to the lengths, the heights that Hudson Young or Frizzell are going to be. So either one of those two can fit into that well. Would you replace Frizzell or Hudson Young? Maybe. You'd definitely replace one of them with Nikora, and then Preston to be at the same level. So yeah, it's probably all you want to look at from the edge perspective going on from here. We will move on to the halves. Let's go back into the spreadsheet there and go through where we're at. So halves, Hines, Cleary, DCE, Munster, Moses, and Johnson. I really don't think that changes too much. That order, yeah, probably not too much. But again, DCE just showed his class on the weekend. Munster, fairly cheap as well. Moses and Johnson, all very happy with all of those potential options for your side there as well. So let's go back up and have a look at that. Dill Brown, it sounds like he's got 7 weeks, so he can be back for the last 3 or 4 rounds. But I think he's a very expensive, and they have a buy in the last round, so not exciting there. You've got Burton after his super low score. Not going to be a great option at the break even. The team's playing really poorly also. I'd be avoiding him there. Guys like Dearden could be an option there. Obviously, Husey, Cogger's been killing it for those who grabbed him. Man, that's a tough break, that one, isn't it? The half position, that's done there. There's really not too much else there. Most people are going to be fine in the halves. Probably not this week, but overall, I think going to be pretty fine in the halves position overall there. Centre, Jack Bird. I think we're going to have to put a line through him. Manu and Penasini 2 and 3. So they're my current centres. And really happy with them. So, yeah, I think they can stick at 2 and 3. Lemuelu is no longer at 4. Unfortunately, he is going to fall out of this list, I'd say. He's kind of, it happens that way with these guys when they get their full stint in a position there. You see even Zach Hosking, they're giving him some rest time. There's games he doesn't score super well, all that kind of thing. It just happens over a period of the first year, especially in the forwards, it seems. More than the outside backs. The outside backs seem to have a really good entirety of the year. The reason why Bull is struggling at the moment is more his team rather than himself. He still looks electric, but the forwards seem to start missing more tackles and something like stuff like that. You see that with the hooking position as well. They could be really strong 40 tackles, 1 miss, and then they'll miss like 7 or 8, 6, 5. You saw that with Jaden Bradley a bunch of years ago. So yeah, very interesting there. Gagai and Graham. So Graham, just the injuries kind of hurt him, unfortunately. Other guys you look at in the centres, obviously Bradman Best is out at the moment. Isaac Tungo, he comes into clear calculation over the next few weeks. Farnworth is one of the best each and every week, 2 tries on the weekend. Val Holmes, obviously a good option for the run home as well. So other than that, there's really not a lot to look at. I'd say Lomax obviously is a half an option, but his position in the team is kind of in a weird space, just with him and sounding like he's not going to be the club saying he's not really going to be needed long term, and then Flanagan comes out and says, "Oh, we'll try and work with him." And yeah, I don't know. There's a lot going on. He got dropped early in the year. That's a very tough one to kind of work out there. And then we'll go into the wing fullback spot to finish things up for this video. And we just only had 3 at this point. It was Latrell Mitchell, Dylan Edwards, and Tedesco. So Teddy and Edwards, I think, stay. Edwards hasn't scored very well at all, really, since that time. Around 13, I think, was... they play 16. So, yeah, he was just one of the better wing fullbacks at the time. Latrell is still not back at all, which is sad. But we do have guys like Drinkwater that have come into, big contention, obviously. I have moved a few of my players before trades, which is cool. Just waiting for team lists now. Drinky's on my bench there this week, obviously not playing, but he's one of those top guns now, and you're going to want him in your side. Chancellor Klukstar's been solid, but he's out of the top 5. It's going to be Garrick, it's going to be Greg Marzu, it's going to be Jabana Sarko in that sort of top 5 there. They're going to sneak into that one. Gutho's been really solid. Walshy will be there at some point, but obviously after his extended break. And then no one else from down here. There's a few mid-ranges and stuff that could be a good option this week. I know some people are looking at Ronaldo Mulatalo. There's Talakai, Will Kennedy, all those guys that they're coming up against a pretty weak Tigers this week. They're the kind of players you can look at for certain weeks, and they're a team that has no more buys for the rest of the year. So you can look at those mid-ranges. There's heaps of cheapies, or heaps. When I say heaps, there's a few cheapies to look at, which will do a job as well. And we'll get into that video tomorrow. Once we get into the big buy, hold, risk it, and sell. Hope that helps you guys, and it's cool to just go back and actually review my notes from round or heading into round 13. I think it was like after round 12 I made that one, and majority of it has stayed the same, especially in the mids and the halves. Things have changed a fair bit in the wing fullback position, but that seems pretty normal. Centers as well, a little bit of a change, and the hooking position just didn't work out exactly as we wanted to all year. So hooking position is going to be a really, really interesting one next year as to how we play that one. It seems to, some of the other positions have been a lot better than the hooking position this year. Obviously, the mids has been great. Edges for the most part, and halves has been the big one, and then the wing fullbacks always seem to go on a bit of a run. But that's that video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and keen for those team lists tonight. Hopefully, they are good for us.